is you've got these extremes of combat, and I think when you get to a large-scale combat, it's going to be even more extreme. You know, the good news is the way I look at it, and some people will say, would you do it all again? I said, absolutely. I'd do it all again. I would go back, and I would do everything again pretty much the same way because it made me who I am today. The passion that I have right now for what I do to help soldiers comes from growing through all that. Because I know one day you all may be called to do something really bad. And from the old combat people in the room, you go, man, I hope not. And then when I talk to young soldiers, they're like, oh, I want to go do this. I'm like, no, you don't. Okay, and then we got to throw another combat story in because nobody knows my wife. So I'm on my second deployment. Now I'm a battalion sergeant major, and somebody says, my driver, young man in his 20s, says the same thing to me. He's like, hey, I want to see something. I want to mix it up. I want to do it. I was like, great, that's awesome. No, you don't. And he goes, no, I really do. I want to go test this thing. I was like, no, you don't. So here's what we were doing at the time. A vehicle had gotten blown up by an IED. And we were actually bringing the record out there to pick up this blown up vehicle. And he's actually telling me, yeah, I want to see the enemy. I want to do this. Guess what happens on the way back? My vehicle, I don't know what I think it's the ears. I truly believe the enemy hates my big ears because they really love to blow me up. So sure enough, on the way back, we're driving back, boom! I was like, how'd you like it? He goes, not what I meant. I thought, it's like, he gets like, I wanted to, see this. I wanted to target it, jump up. Like, yeah, it doesn't happen like that, man. You're driving down the road and the road explodes. That's combat. Welcome to it. This is terrible. I was like, yeah, we got 15 more months. So it's like, no. So ultimately, at the end, I spent 5 years in combat. When my daughters were 10, I'd been deployed for 50% of their lives. So my daughters were literally born at the beginning of all that. So I've got a lot of combat time. I got a lot of unique experiences. The basis for everything I did after that, from first sergeant all the way to be the SMA, was a culmination of what I had went through in combat. And that's kind of what it meant to me to be a warfighter. Everything I did pushing the Army to change the PT test to do things was because I was a warfighter. And for some reason, they just kept sending me back and back and back. And I've got a very unique history, and it didn't end with the battalion or the company. It actually ended as a division. So my last deployment to combat was division, where General Funk decided that I needed to train all the Iraqi Army and man, train, and equip them. And if you'd like to talk about that in the question and answer, you can ask me anything you want. And some people are not going to believe what I just told you. But I've got a few logisticians that I can tell some really interesting logistician stories about manning, training, and equipping Iraqis. But that was my culmination exercise where I finally stopped deploying. And that ended in 2014 or 15. So I have this unique experience, and I couldn't have done all that without the help of great teammates. And I wouldn't be alive today without great soldiers. So a lot of people at the end of my tour as the Sergeant Major of the Army said, hey, how would you, what advice would you give to somebody trying to be the Sergeant Major of the Army? I said, well, never try to be the Sergeant Major of the Army. And they go, well, what do you mean by that? I was like, I'm being serious. And then I usually will say something that nobody understands. I'll say something like, yeah, I should have died several times as a first sergeant. Now, I'll be clear. I have told you none of those stories, and I will not. So, but I'm telling you is that I truly believe that, is that you shouldn't try to get to a higher position at the detriment of your people. I would never do that. Did I make people mad along the way? 100%. And that's who I was. I didn't do things to get to a certain job, and I never would. Okay, so I want to explain a couple of these photos, and then we'll open it up for questions. Is that good? So make sure, let's see. Okay, I told you about basic training. If you look on my right shoulder there, believe it or not, I was a platoon guide in basic training. They wanted me in a leadership position. Platoon guides kind of are like I don't know. They're still privates getting yelled at. Oh, I think I got yelled at more. You know, because you got to march people, and if they're not on time, the drill sergeant just yells at. He blames you. I'm like, well, you're the drill sergeant. Don't say that to your drill sergeant. You do a lot of push-ups. Another photo in here is where I'm laying down. You see me eating somebody says, you're eating a cookie or something like that.